Hey everybody, we're going to do a reaction video to this long time lapse of pavers being laid out. Here in the studio, Company Cam Studio for the Kid Contractor Podcast, we're going to do a reaction video of us watching a 7-minute time lapse video. We're going to talk our way through this of tips and tricks and how-tos and observations we're making while the guys are working on the front porch here at the shop. Without further ado, we're going to go here. So here we go. Here we go. Paver install at our dream shop. This is our dream shop. This is our dream facility. I had a great podcast talking about how we didn't think this was impossible, so we made it happen. So what are you holding yourself back with? The guy's screeding out here, number 9 stone, 1-inch layer with our handy dandy stand-up screed there. Float trowel, get things going real easy there right up against the building where we can't reach with that trowel. Now, our sub base, there's another video where our base soils were already compacted, and then you and I went through and got the base ready for the guys, all to over that porch because it's under a roof, a 1 in 10-inch drop. We're gonna do.
We did it over open graded stone.
Yeah, and we did it. It's an open graded system. Very good point. So 3/4 clean stone. Laying it. So we got that screeded out. That screed bed is what dictates how your pavers ultimately look, if you do a bad job on your base and subsoils, they settle in and go to hell.
And just to be clear for everyone, the gray stone that you see that's down first, that's the open graded number 57 limestone, and then the brownish colored stone that they put down is number 9 stone, which is what we use as our setting bed.
Yeah, here we are tracking mud and dirt all over our pavers because the yard area out beyond was so dirty. You could and should maybe put down some cardboard and some stuff. See, like down stacking a pallet like that kind of sucks. If it were me doing this and I was on the crew, I would have had our 595 skid steer up in there, or even that 1550, and I would have brought those pavers clear up in there and hung that over, so we're going pretty much right off the pallet to the ground. So
pretty much had someone on the machine the whole time just moving.
Somebody would have lived on the machine all day, just making sure the pavers are as close to the guys as possible. Truck coming in, that was with Mr.
Do you think
Keith,
it's actually still, like, even with the really large format, do you think it's necessary to still fill those screed poles?
There's a few guys on Hardscape Instagram, as Paver King calls it, that aren't doing that. I think probably either it's on large slabs, probably okay. I want them filled up. Still, we'll do some experiments here at the shop this winter maybe, and run a compactor because we're worried about the angle repose, right? So those, as you run a vibratory plate over those to get them smoothed out. There we go. So there we're moving our stuff in, but I really think like
you should really have another pallet over there, kind of where the ditch witch is right now.
Yeah, exactly. Just reaching on up in there. So see, you can see we stepped on our setting bed there. No big deal. Get in there with the float and fix it. That's what's really nice about that. But see, this double handling stuff, I don't know why the guys do it that way. I would really be more inclined. I'd rather see that thing reach as far up in there as absolutely human possible, so we're not double handling stuff. Also, another thing in here that we kind of screwed up on was miscommunication. We're using those super handy grabos to set those like that. We have air tools, specifically the T-handle lifters and all that stuff that we didn't use on this job, and I don't know what happened there as far as like, I don't know why they didn't get used. We had a miscommunication on what was going on there. So there at least, see, we're moving stuff a little closer. There we go. But I mean, that 595 could reach clear up in there.
They're only moving it once the pallet's gone.
And that's true. And yeah, so we're not live and animated. So instead we got 2 guys. There's, 2 guys. They're both using 1 lifter now, and Keith's using 1 lifter. If we had this pneumatic out there,
so, like, ideally what we might do is rewatch this video with our guys.
That's
like
a great
for training
idea.
this spring, and then see what they see, and maybe they can explain some of these inefficiencies to us that, because we're in here and they're out there.
Yeah.
And then maybe they can see some of the things that they're missing. Right,
100%. Yep, so laying this out, getting things screeded out. Another thing I deal with 3 guys on site, like, and granted, they're working really hard because these pavers are being lifted like that, like, hey. But again, I would have that machine hoisted that thing up at about hip level so that we're not having to bend clear up, like keep it up that height, where it's up high for the machine, so we're not bending clear over. So
you're just bending down.
I'm always getting on the guys about this and doing that way. And I can only control so much, but at the end of the day, I don't want them to work too hard. Does that sound crazy? Like, is that nuts? I don't want the guys to work too hard. And we want them to work hard and effectively, but see how the skid steer's coming in here, and like we could easily just hold that and keep it floated up nice and high so we're not down stacking like this. I just don't get why things happen some ways that way sometimes. Just it doesn't have to be this hard of work. And
you could really eliminate a guy if you
a
guy lifting at least.
Yeah, so
because the one Keith who's setting all the pavers down for Travis to lay, he could be doing the skid steer instead.
Yeah, so just one guy could be in the skid steer and off and on, doing that. So here we are raking out some 9s right at the very end there. The guys are really good at that. I mean, you can just see how good that lays out. So we pull that screed bar out just enough to get our bedding good down there along the end. Double check it there, Mr. Bo, who's just so awesome at that stuff. Screeding out the 9s. Here comes a machine up in there. But again, that pallet should have been picked up and lifted clear up in there and hoisted clear in there. So there's me. I finally get in there and set a few, see what that feels like, see how that is. Checking the lines. Those handlers are really nice, but we should have had our other pneumatic stuff.
Well, you can get a handle for those handlers.
Yeah, that's true.
And they sell a T-handle.
I thought we ordered those.
We did not.
Oh, that was a mistake.
We took those off the order.
That was a mistake. Why did we do that?
To save money.
Things we never understand. Of all things we took off, we should not have taken those off. That seems nuts. Why in the world did we do that? And again, so from the guy's standpoint, would say, why did you take the lifter T-handles off when, we could have avoided that or whatever. But yeah, so that's all laid in there. There we go. So with that being said, I think Britt had an awesome idea. We need to go over this video. We need to watch this on a large screen, maybe in a conference room here this winter or whatever, and talk to the guys about and do a play-by-play or a, what do they call that in football when they kind of watch reel, whatever, and kind of go through it and figure out what our greatest plays were, where we messed up, where we shortened up at, and so we know where they're coming from, and they can explain, the things we're not understanding, and vice versa. We can say, well, hey, why don't we try this, or why can't we do that, or whatever. So I think that was a really good point, Britt. I think that's a great idea.
It might be a way for them to see it without us telling them to. So
true.
People don't they don't want to hear you criticize them. And so maybe if they can see, it's like, oh crap, look how many times we handled that. And they didn't even realize they were doing it.
Right, yeah.
It might be, maybe take some of the pressure off of us.
Yeah,
for them to figure it out. I don't know how to phrase that.
No, 100%. That's totally the way it should be done. So, good call there, Britt. Okay, so here we go. Roll the podcast ad at the end. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll catch you on the next one. We'll see you. Thanks. A while ago,
Caleb has
folks,
a gripe with people complaining about the weather in their states.
A while ago, I went on this tirade on the podcast for a while, and it probably offended a few people. But I get so sick of hearing people say, oh, you don't like the weather in Ohio, just wait a day and it'll change. Oh, yuck. And I lived in Oklahoma for a while, and the people there said that about, not Ohio, believe it or not, Oklahoma. They said, oh, if you don't like the weather, just wait a little while in Oklahoma, it'll change. Oh, yuck. And then I've spent some time around the place a little bit, and I pay attention to these things because I'm a psychopath, like Britt mentioned earlier. Florida, you name it, wherever. My friends in Michigan, Indiana, all that kind of stuff. I hear it everywhere. And it's just like, folks, the weather's the weather. I don't know what to tell you. Gosh, that echo's driving me crazy. So little side tangent there. So don't be so narrow as to think that the weather is only screwy where you live, because it's screwy everywhere, folks.